Guys, thanks for joining us. I'm Dr. Jeff Brown with the Merge Medical Podcast with my co-host, Dr. Jeff Cole. Today, I'm joined by Kyle Pfaffenbach, who is the Chief Scientific Advisor, and Biquan Luo, who is the founder and CEO of Lumos Technologies. Lumos Technologies uses light pulse technology that regulates sleep to help us all feel better. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. B, tell us about Lumos.
Lumos is building a sleep and fatigue management system that consists of a sleep mask and a cell phone app that regulates the circadian clock so that travelers can travel without jet lag and the night shift workers can ease the transition between day shift and night shift. And everyday people can have a better sleep by having a better, healthier circadian clock.
Sleep seems to be a big deal for everybody, all adults. The sleep industry, the pills, the apps seem to be a big market. How do you see yourself fitting there, and just the product need for what you have?
I like to think of sleep as a house, and the circadian rhythm is the foundation of the house. If the foundation is good, then naturally your sleep will be good. If the foundation is wacky, then your house will be bad. So what we design here is to optimize your circadian rhythm so that naturally you will get better sleep. And this, I see two categories. There's acute circadian clock disruption and there's chronic circadian rhythm disruption, in that people have hard time falling asleep, staying asleep, and then wake up feeling groggy. So these categories, together with the travel and night shift that we mentioned, they are the target market.
I assume that what you're doing is based on science. Can you touch on that? Do you have advisors or technology partners?
Yeah, our scientific advisor is Dr. Jamie Zeiser, who is a professor at Stanford University. He's now the director of Stanford Sleep Center. So his research found that you can use very short to brief light flashes to adjust human circadian clock. And that's the technology behind our product. We also have multiple clinical studies, and one of them is the lab study that we showed using biomarker. We're able to show that using our mask was able to regulate human circadian clock. In the field study with night shift workers, we're able to show that the participants had improved sleep and alertness when they're working night shift. That includes staying for longer during shift sleep, and then being able to fall asleep faster during recovery sleep at the end of the night shift.
Anybody else doing this? I mean, sleep's pretty important. What competitors do you have?
There's so many products on the market, but surprisingly, 80 or 90% of users that we talk to, they still resort to the basic sleeping pills, melatonin, and alcohol, all these basic stimulants. That's because there are really no good solutions out there. When it comes to solutions that fix circadian rhythm, in this category, we call light therapy. There are light boxes, which is very difficult to use because you have to sit in front of the light box for 2 or 3 hours every day. And there's portable light emitting goggles. The user experience isn't super pleasant because you have green or blue light emitting into your eyes as you eat breakfast or drive, for example. And then finally, there is mobile applications that tells you when to get light, but sometimes the timing isn't feasible. And most importantly, the time window when your body is most sensitive to circadian clock adjustment is at night. So that's our competitive advantage. We can deliver the light therapy right in the middle of the night when your body is the most sensitive to adjustment. So it works better and it's more convenient, as you as a user don't need to do anything else. You just put on a mask, go to bed, and then we take care of the rest.
And can you show us the mask again, just real briefly?
So yes, there is a mask removable cover, and then there's electronic components that can be removed. And we have a cell phone app that has different modules. That has travel, night shift, falling asleep, staying asleep, waking up gently in the morning. And then there's also daylight savings.
Oh, wow. And that affects everybody except Dr. Cole. I want to just you guys to give a brief introduction and tell us a little bit about your backgrounds. And then Kyle, you had some pretty neat stories about some of the athletes you worked with. If you want to tell us briefly about that, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. So, briefly, my background is undergrad and master's in exercise science, PhD in nutrition, with an emphasis in nutrient biochemistry. I did a postdoctoral fellowship at USC Keck School of Medicine, as a in the molecular biology department, working on a variety of aspects of how nutrition impacts cancer in different ways. And now I teach at a small university called Eastern Oregon University, where I teach exercise physiology and performance nutrition. We have a big emphasis on performance exercise science
Awesome.
at our school. When I started teaching sports nutrition, I started collaborating with several professional athlete groups. So I've been fortunate enough to work with the Brooks Beasts professional track and field team. Currently have, last year we had 6 people qualify for world champions. 6 out of the 13 athletes qualified for world championship teams. And it's also the home of the reigning 1500 meter world champion, Josh Kerr, who's a user of Lumos. I also work with a number of professional cyclists and a variety of other athletes, typically in the endurance range. A lot of these athletes travel to Europe for races, for competitions. They also travel a lot within the United States, both for competitions as well as different training camps and things like that. And so I know Dr. Law from back in our USC days. And when I realized what she was doing through personal discussions, I quickly saw the application for the athletes, and that's how I started to get involved. And we've successfully had collaborations with WNBA teams. We've had several conversations with a lot of professional teams. The WNBA team based in Connecticut is one of our first kind of full-scale team adopters of the technology. And so we're working with them. Really, it's collaborative because they're hopefully we're going to be able to track the impact that it has on those athletes and have a little bit more substantial objective data around it.
That is super cool. I could totally see you guys on Shark Tank and Mark Cuban getting this for the Mavericks.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
That's the idea.
That's the idea.
And we're also part of the NBA Launchpad finalists. And we forgot to mention, we're also working with the U.S. Olympic Committee on how to improve the performance of athletes.
What's the Launchpad, NBA Launchpad you're talking about?
That's like a startup program that the NBA, the National Basketball Association, hosts every year. And that we're the finalists of the NBA Launchpad program.
That is super cool.
So basically it's a program funded by the NBA that helps entrepreneurs and startups that have technology that can lead to positive health impacts for their players.
Interesting.
They're interested in that type of technology. So I'm not sure how many total teams were in it, but Lumos was one of the 4 finalists for this year. And so we met with a whole group of scientific advisors and health advisors and executives from the league office, not the individual teams. So that was a very cool opportunity.
That is cool. Can you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, for sure. I was a scientist by training. I got my PhD from University of Southern California, Keck School of Medicine, where I met Kyle. And then I moved on to Stanford to finish my postdoctoral training. And I founded a company while I was at Stanford, and then have been with the company since then. I was the principal investigator for multiple DoD, the Department of Defense grant, and then to improve soldiers' performance and sleep, and also a principal investigator of another grant from the National Science Foundation to improve the sleep for teenagers.
Do you have any patents in the works? How is your IP protected?
Yes, we have patents. We have U.S. patents that protects our design. So that's a systems design that includes the hardware, the software, and the algorithm. We also have patents in other countries. And then the algorithm, the core algorithm that we use to adjust circadian rhythm is our trade secret that we keep in-house.
Is that I don't even know. Is that something that is patentable or is it just proprietary?
Generally, it's not advised to patent your algorithm because they're easily people
Because then
can
somebody
make
can get it.
changes.
So you just got to keep it secret.
Right. Usually you want to keep it secret. You don't want to release to public.
I understand fully.
Like the Coca-Cola recipe, right?
Yeah. Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Some things you keep in-house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For this part, I wanted to ask them what stage of development they're in. If they want to talk about, they did a first run and here we are, you want to take that one, B?
Yeah. So our overall strategy is getting government funding to support our R&D, support our product development, and then getting private funding to support commercialization. We have, after received multiple government grants and perfected our product, we are now ready to go after the market for commercialization.
What about target markets?
Yeah, so everybody needs good sleep, or everybody wants good sleep. In fact, 1/3 of people actually have this foundation problem, the circadian clock being desynchronized, leading to being difficult to fall asleep, not being able to stay asleep, and not being able to wake up and have to hit the snooze button many times. And then on top of that, people travel, and then the night shift workers work at night. These are all our target market.
So basically
And
everybody.
Yeah.
Basically everybody.
Yeah.
Except for Jeff Cole.
You may or may not be able to comment on this, but let's just say a NBA basketball team had an interest. Are you willing to provide some product for them to try out, or to be a brand ambassador at that level, or
Yes, for sure.
Would be considered?
With that level of visibility, we're happy to get our product in their hands and then see, one, to collect data to see how much impact we have on players' performance, and two, to utilize their influence in the general public, because NBA is like a high visibility sport.
What's interesting about the NBA particularly is at least from what I've done, and I think as well, B would agree with this, stop me if I'm wrong, but there are more published papers about the negative impacts of sleep on basketball performance or lack of sleep or sleep disruption on basketball than there are for any of the other professional sports, which is kind of interesting. There was the famous Stanford basketball study where they basically they made the players sleep, I think it was 10 hours a night, and free throw percentage went up, 3-point field goal, points per game, all these different things went up. And so that kind of kicked things off. But there's even been some interesting retrospective studies where they go back through and look at road injuries versus home injuries. They look at the impact of time zone on scoring percentage and field goal percentage, and look at the advanced stats and those types of things. So that stuff's all out there, like on PubMed. And so the NBA seems to be one of the ones with the most brutal travel schedule, but also the most interest in affecting that for their players, because they know when their players sit because of prescribed rest, it affects their product.
Wow. I'm so glad this is being looked at. As a physician, I will tell you it's changed since Jeff Cole and I trained, but man, talk about sleep deprivation. And we're taking care of people, other human beings, and we'd be up for 40 hours sometimes. And it's just, but I'm glad it's, the whole world's looking at how important sleep is. And I'm glad you guys are doing it. I don't know if you want to have a real brief conversation about what the total addressable market is, or the potential for this, but it seems huge to me.
It is huge. So the global sleep economy in 2019 was $432 billion. It was estimated to be well over $585 billion by 2030. And then the sleep aids, if you're talking about the sleep aids specifically, in 2021, it was like $65 billion. And then it was estimated to be like $118 billion by 2030. So it was huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So not just for healthcare workers and professional athletes, but general public.
Right. The general public, the
100%.
chronic circadian clock disruption population. That's much bigger.
Well, guys, I want to thank you again for being here. I want to just summarize again, if I can. Lumos uses light pulse technology that regulates the circadian rhythm, improving sleep for shift workers, travelers, jet lag, and anyone wanting to improve and get healthy sleep. So I want to thank you guys for joining us on the Merge Medical Podcast. I'm Dr. Jeff Brown, and this is your co-host, Dr. Jeff Cole, Dr. B. Lau, and Dr. Kyle Pfaffenbach. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.